What's up, Nova Heads? It's Amber Nova.
This is Chris Lights Out Lytle.
Hi, this is Ray Boom Boom Mancini. Ice Boogie.
It's the real and raw August Artois.
This is Smiling Sam Alvey.
It's Archimedes.
I'm Jack Cartwheel, the real deal, the human highlight reel.
This is Steve Murray.
I'm Victor Henry.
Boy, Bulletproof Troop. Billy Clark.
It's ECW Original, The Enforcer, C.W. Anderson.
This is Honest John.
Hyper Street. Luis Moreno. And it's Mr. Classic.
I'm Jason Punet.
The young ghost.
It's old Hattie Price here.
When I say what's my name, Snipes.
Richie Slade.
My name is Gino Rivera, the Frank Sinatra of the Spanish Mafia.
The incredible one, Anthony Idol.
This is Ken Shamrock.
The Golden Boy, Jordan Clearwater.
Yo, watch and listen.
Championship online.
This is Alex Mars here. Hi, Richard Modest.
So, please listen to it, otherwise be cursed. Okay, see you later, love that dinners.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're now watching and listening to Championship on the Line podcast. I'm Alex, as usual, with my co-host Rich, and today we have a very, very special episode here. We have a professional wrestler in the house. We actually had the honor to see him a couple weeks ago, and he absolutely killed it on Championship in Hollywood. I'm so excited he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Matt Brannigan, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Again, man, thank you so much for taking the time. We're so happy to have you, man. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm setting my dog down next to me. Give me a sec. Thank you. All right.
Cool. Before we start, we'd like to do a quick segment where we ask 10 rapid fun questions about you. Is that what we do with you?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, cool. Take it away, Rich.
Start away. First question: what is your favorite movie of all time?
Lord of the Rings.
Nice.
Yeah. If I can count all three of those movies as one movie, that's my answer.
Oh, nice. I mean, yeah, I don't think we never seen Lord of the Rings, but we hear good things. So.
Whoa! What? You got to see it, man, and you got to see the extended editions too. That's don't do the theatrical cut. Go straight to the extended.
Because we get so much for it, like we never watched Lord of the Rings or like Star Wars. We never seen a Star Wars movie.
I've never seen Star Wars either, but Lord of the Rings is good. I will go on record as saying Star Wars sucks. But Lord of the Rings is good.
Awesome.
Next. What is your favorite TV show of all time?
TV show? Oh, I might have to go with either Seinfeld or maybe like classic Simpsons.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
From those two shows, which one is your favorite character?
Oh, favorite character on Seinfeld is George Costanza, obviously.
Nice.
Favorite character on The Simpsons? It's hard to say, man. They have so many good side characters. I'm really vibing with Mo lately. Like the bleakness of Mo has like been cracking me up. Or maybe Milhouse's dad, Kirk. I actually have a tattoo of Milhouse's dad. I kind of like his patheticness a lot.
That is awesome.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
What is your favorite video game?
Dude, Shadow of the Colossus is my favorite video game.
Nice.
For PS2. It's an old one, but it's very good. I think they remastered it on PS4, but it's super good.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I totally agree.
Favorite sports team?
I actually don't watch sports, but I will just say Cincinnati Bengals just to make my brother happy. I'll say that.
Nice. What is your favorite meal?
Ooh. Honestly, like peanut butter and jelly.
Nice. That's different, because it's simple and it works. Yeah, because I think the common answer I always get is like steak and potatoes. So, that's such
pizza.
A wrestler answer to give. Pizza's good.
Yeah,
and I kind of regret not saying pizza, but I'll stick with PB&J. That's the one.
Nice.
Awesome.
It's a first. That's a first.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Hell yeah.
What is your favorite season? Do you like spring, summer, fall?
Well, I'm from Ohio, where every season is very drastic. I always liked the fall because it was the most non-harsh season back there. So I'll go with the fall, with autumn, as they say.
How do you feel about the California weather now moving over here?
I'm a sweaty guy, so when I first moved out here, I was just really hot all the time and I was kind of grumpy. But I feel like it's getting colder now. At first, I thought I was just getting used to the heat, but then I realized it just wasn't hot anymore. But yeah, I'm liking it. It's sunny. It's nice.
Oh yeah. Outside of wrestling, do you have a hobby you like to do?
I play video games. I actually make music, and that's probably about it. I don't really have a lot of hobbies. I just work out a lot and wrestle a lot. Thank you.
Well, speaking of music, do you have like a favorite artist or like a band?
I have a lot of favorite types of music, so it's hard to say. I'm a big music nerd. Yeah, it's a big question. Who am I vibing with right now? My girlfriend's like, shouldn't have asked that. She's heard me ramble enough. I say I'm trying to think of something I really like. I don't know. I've been like kind of going back to older music that I missed. Like there's this band called Sparks from like I think they are from the 70s. I've been really getting into that. I've been trying to go back and find some like cool rap stuff that I missed in like the early 2000s. Because I used to make rap when I was like a teenager. So like I really like listening to rap music. It makes me want to make rap music, but I'm too lazy to do it. But yeah, I think right now I'm really vibing with. Have you guys heard of Oingo Boingo?
No, like I'm not familiar with. Yeah,
I think they're from the 80s, but I went to on Halloween. I went to an Oingo Boingo tribute band show, and it was actually I was making fun of it, like who the fuck's Oingo Boingo? And then when I was there, I'm like, this is pretty sick, actually. So I'd say that's what I'm vibing with right now is Oingo Boingo.
Nice.
That was a long answer. I'm sorry about that.
No, totally fine. Before you enter your ring, do you have a ritual before you step in?
I don't really. I would say the closest thing to a ritual I have before a match is trying to last minute think of like funny things to do or like say. Like I'll think about the match and stuff, and I'll like just try to think of like little spots to do something really stupid to make myself look as dumb as possible. But I don't know. I don't really have a ritual. I've been wrestling a long time, and like I don't really get nervous or anything. So I just I'll do a bunch of push-ups and like flex a bunch to try and get my muscles popping. But that's about it. That's all I got.
If you could have a match with anyone that isn't a wrestler, it can be an athlete, a fictional character, a celebrity, who would it be?
Anybody? That's crazy.
Yeah, anybody.
That's a crazy question. Man, I feel like I've had thoughts like this all the time, but now that you've asked me, I can't like articulate a good person. Sometimes I watch TV and I just see a character. I'm like, man, that'd be such a good wrestling thing. Who? Let me pull one out here. I think I'm a good bad guy. Honestly, okay, I have an answer. If I am working babyface, my dream opponent is Yosemite Sam from Looney Tunes. And if I'm working heel, my dream opponent is Bugs Bunny.
Nice.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I honestly, when I'm playing in matches and stuff, I just try to think of it in terms of Looney Tunes because I'm a very over the top, like animated person. So I try to like think of things and like, how would they do this on Looney Tunes? And I always think of those two specifically. And then sometimes you work with people who are really serious and they don't want to do cartoony stuff. And I go like, shit. Like, well, don't worry. I'll do the cartoony stuff. You just stand there and watch me do it.
Awesome. I love it, man. I love your answers. Very some of them were like some of the first we ever had, so which is awesome. But yeah, man, love the answers. But again, Matt, thank you so much for doing this podcast with us. Really excited to have you.
Oh yeah.
But tell us the beginning. Like, how did it all start for you? Like, what got you into wrestling? Like, who introduced it to you?
My older brother showed me wrestling. I don't really know when it started. It's just he was always showing it to me. He's like 6 years older than I am, so like I don't remember not watching wrestling. He was just always showing it to me. He was around like he was doing all the tape trading stuff and like in the late 90s. So he had a bunch of like crazy Japanese things. Like I remember when Ring of Honor first started when I was a kid, he had those tapes. We went to those shows in Ohio, where I'm from, kind of like an hour away. WWE's Developmental used to be in like the Cincinnati area, and it was like HWA, and I used to go to those shows. So I was always kind of drawn to indie wrestling, and I always had like indie tapes to watch, and I don't know, it was always kind of a thing. So when I decided to like get into wrestling, I already like knew where to go because I like grew up watching those shows and stuff. So like this guy named Cody Hawk trained me. He's from Cincinnati. He was like the secondary trainer behind Les Thatcher at HWA. So like I used to go see him as a kid, and then when I was ready to start wrestling, I just found him. He was in Dayton, Ohio, and then it was off to the races. That was about 9 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I could kind of relate a little bit because like my older brother, he's the one that actually got me into wrestling. So like when he was watching it, I was like, oh man, like what is he watching? I was looking for it, and then
it's kind of wild to have like the older brother perspective, because I remember my brother showing me Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan from WrestleMania 9, and we watched that and we're like, yeah, that was awesome. And then we turn around, we put on like a Ring of Honor tape, and we're like, yeah, this is awesome too. So it's just like to me, it was all the same. Like indie wrestling and WrestleMania felt the same to me, because it was all just like it was all wrestling. So I feel like that's a weird perspective to have, but that's just the way it was for me.
Oh yeah, because especially like with ours, like we watched like obviously WWE, but like because we grew up more of the Ruthless Aggression era. So like at the time you had that, and then you had like TNA was starting to come up.
Yeah.
And then it was like Wrestling Society X from MTV. It came out of nowhere.
Those were such exciting times, man. Like early TNA, like when Low Key, before everyone found out that Low Key was like a prick. Amazing Red and Low Key, like killing it on there, like Sanjay Dutt, like, oh man.
Like Jay Lethal, all those guys.
Yeah, the X Division was so good. And then even guys like Abyss were awesome. And it was so good, man. And then at Wrestling Society X, that was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it's crazy because when I talk to people about like Universal Society X, they like don't like it for some reason. Like I'm like, I thought it was great.
When that was on, that was like, oh, I want to get on this. Like I don't want to go to WWE. I want to go here. This is my speed. This is what I do.
Had like that underground like vibe to it.
And it was like it was silly enough. Like it didn't take itself too seriously. It was like indie guys just messing around doing like TV stuff, but in like a kind of tongue-in-cheek way. They had like goofy indie spots that I like doing. Yeah, it was good stuff.
Oh, absolutely. We both definitely agree to that because we love those companies.
Heck yeah.
But also like, growing up, who was like your favorite wrestler? Like who were you a big fan of?
When I was really young, Chris Jericho like resonated with me like immediately. So this is like, I think the first time I saw him, I was just like doing the late 90s WWF stuff when I was really young. I was like, oh, this guy's cool. He looks like me, kind of. I like this guy. And then I remember when he turned heel and became the Undisputed Champion, when I like hated him for it. And then I just thought how cool that was. Man, this guy, like, he was my favorite dude. Now I hate him. He's really good. And then I went back to loving him. So I don't know. Jericho was like my first. Kenta from in the Noah days was like one of my favorites. My brother used to like drive me across the country to like see Kenta and Marufuji when they came to Ring of Honor and stuff. So I would say like my top three in no particular order would be like Jericho, Kenta, and Bryan Danielson were always my favorite guys to watch.
Oh yeah,
which is funny because they're really good, and it's just funny because I don't wrestle like them. I do like mostly character based stuff and like and silly stuff, but those are the guys I like to watch.
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree too. I mean, Jericho, especially with Jericho, like, what are your thoughts as of him now, especially what he's doing in AEW, like as a fan's perspective?
It's crazy. Like the longevity he's had is crazy. Like, I don't know. Looking back to when I was first watching him, it never seemed like he'd be like the next Ric Flair in this sense. Like he'd be a guy who's just around for decades and is like always good. I mean, to be honest, seeing him on social media and stuff these last few years has been a little rough, a little cringy. You know, you'd be like, we know a little too much about his personal life now. But aside from that, as a performer, he's very good.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. I never would have like picked him, especially like, you know, towards the end of his WWF run, he was leaving and coming back all the time. It seemed like he was kind of phasing himself out. And then he just went to AEW and just fucking off to the races, man. He just rejuvenated his whole career. It's kind of crazy.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when he made the decision to go to New Japan too, which was like mind blowing.
Oh yeah, how did I forget that? That was nuts. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And also, like, even growing up, like, as being a fan, like, did you ever like play the wrestling video games, or like, as the seat behind me, I have like the figures. Did you ever collect any of the figures?
People gave me the figures. I didn't really collect them, but I ended up having like 300 of them because people were just giving them to me. And but yeah, I have some of the. Do you have any of the WCW toys?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like I have a bunch of I think it's called like the Bruiser series of toys. I have like a bunch of those. I just remember when I was really young, they were like on sale at some store that's going out of business. And I bought a bunch of them, but I still have them and actually use them when I need to like think of spots that involve like multiple people. I like get these toys out just to kind of space it all out. Because sometimes it helps, you know, like to get it out of your head and see where things would lay out. So on my like work desk, I have a bunch like Mike Awesome, Rey Mysterio without a mask on, Booker T, and Chris Kanyon, like just sitting there to plan spots with.
That's unique and cool. Alex and I would talk about that when we were kids. Like, I wonder if any wrestler like gets a couple guys and practice it, because it makes sense. Like, oh man, this spot, and think of creative moves. I'm like, it's awesome to hear that from you. Yeah.
Sometimes you can see it in your head, but when there's a lot of moving parts, and you're like, wait, where does that guy? If I do this, that guy's here now, and then you just kind of put it all in front of you, and then it's like, oh, okay, I get it.
That's awesome. Yeah, because we never hear. Like, or one of, I guess, I think you're the first that ever said like with the wrestlers, because like everyone usually has a different way, or they even watch tape or something. Mm-hmm. But that's so cool. We use like figures to like.
Yeah. I'm sure other wrestlers do. I just bet they don't want to admit it.
They don't want to admit it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But also, you know, take me back. You know, what was it like? Also, you know, going to your first day of wrestling school. Like, what was that whole experience like for you going into that?
I remember, so actually I started training. There was this weird period where I went to a place for like 4 months while I was like going to school at the time. And this place was like really seedy and weird. And I just stopped showing up at some point because it just didn't feel on the up and up. And then there was like a 2-year period. And that's when I went to Rockstar Pro in Dayton to train. Mm-hmm. So I remember my first time in that first go around, I was just really nervous because, you know, I didn't know what to expect. The building seemed suspicious. Everyone seemed suspicious, you know. It was like really, it just didn't feel like it was really a wrestling place, you know. It just kind of felt strange. So then when I went back 2 years later to start again, I just went in there and I was like, all right, I'm just going to act like I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to tell them that I'm not trained. I'm just going to show up. I'm just going to do whatever I want. And they'll tell me to stop if it's bad, or they'll tell me to keep going if it's good. So I remember I just got in there with like some other student. I just started doing moves to him without asking permission to do it. And I remember one of my trainers looked at me and he just goes like, do you have gear? Can you wrestle this week? And I was like, I don't have gear, but I can wrestle this week. And then sure enough, they put me in a battle royal and just had me get beat up after one day of training. So after like one day of actual training, they just started putting me on shows, and then I was working 1 to 2 shows a week, and then training twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, in between the shows. So I was trying to pick it up as fast as possible. Yeah, I remember being nervous, but trying really hard to like hide it, because I was just trying. I wanted to bypass a lot of the red tape that's in pro wrestling, you know.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, what did the training consist of? Like, like a day-to-day basis? Like, what was your schedule like?
It varied a lot. It kind of depended on how motivated the trainer was that day, because you would have days where like the trainer was like in a bad mood. Maybe he's hungover. He doesn't want to do anything. You'll just kind of roll around. I would say the warm up is always the same. It's like 25 squats, like 25 push-ups. It's all easy. 25 sit-ups, then a bunch of like lucha rolls and stuff, and then like chain wrestling. But some days they would just like have you they'd run the ropes like for 2 hours, just like doing squats on the top rope while people ran the ropes and trying not to fall down. And if you fell down, everyone had to restart. Some days we'd have like things like, all right, go on the outside and do like what's it called? Not CrossFit. What was that? Insanity. Yeah, we do like insanity workouts outside the ring, and then cycle into the ring to get beat up for 10 minutes, and then go back out and do more cardio, and it would just be like an endless loop. They try to get people to like throw up a lot, but yeah, it just varied all the time. Some days it was like so easy that you almost regret going because it just felt like a waste of time. Then other days it was like insanely difficult. It just really depended on the mood the trainer was in.
Mm-hmm. Even during like, you know, with your coaches and everything, was there like any advice that your coaches give you that like about the business that still keeps with you to this day?
I didn't get a lot of great advice like about the business per se, but one of my trainers is a guy named Ben Chimera. He told me something that all he said was like people, you know, it's about people moving too fast and like making things look sloppy. And I just thought the way he articulated this thought was very concise and good. And it was just slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And so it just means like, take your time. Things won't look slow if it looks good, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's probably like the best thing I ever heard in training. That's like really the only thing that stuck with me. The rest of it kind of like, I don't remember, you know, some of the things I was taught I didn't agree with. So I just kind of like, you know, got rid of it from my brain. But that one makes a lot of sense to me. And I tell people that still, like when I wrestle new guys or young guys who are like really excited and they kind of like move around too much, I always just tell them to slow down. Slow is smooth.
Mm-hmm. Which is great advice. Awesome advice.
It is good advice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then also like, was there ever time like at your school, like did they ever bring any like big names to like train with you guys, or was there any seminars that you attended to?
Yeah, I've been to some cool little seminars. When I was wrestling in Dayton, they had some good wrestlers. Like Jake Christ was, he was always there. Alex Colon was always there. We had like guys like Ron Mathis and Bruce Gray. I don't know if you know them. They're kind of like Midwest guys, but they're like super good. And then Chris Brooks came in a few times. I worked with Rich Swann a little bit, and Sammy Callahan would come down a lot. So we had a lot of like good workers come in. I'm forgetting some people too, and I'll feel like a dick, but I can't think of it. But in terms of seminars, I didn't really do many. I trained a little bit with Jimmy Yang before I moved to California. Mm-hmm. And at the end of 2019, I actually trained in the Wrestle One dojo in Japan for a little bit. And that was pretty cool. That was like a really fun time. But yeah, that's about it.
Okay. And also, you know, during that time when you were training, was there like any specific wrestler that you would watch to kind of get inspiration for your ring style, or even with promos too? Was there any specific person you would watch?
Honestly, not really. I would watch all of them because everyone was really good, and back then they were better than me, and they're still better than me. But I would watch them, and I usually watch the show and I try to find what's like not on the show, because it's like, you know, guys like Rich Swann are, you know, they're doing a lot of like really impressive athletic things, which I could do, but I can't do it as well as them. So then I try to think about what people aren't doing, and it's usually a lot of character-based stuff, or like crowd work, or like even comedy stuff. So that's kind of how I ended up working that style, was just that it always was the type of match that wasn't on the shows I was on. So I was always trying to stand out by just doing what wasn't there. And then it kind of works, because then I don't have to like do a bunch of flips and stuff. And I can still like have memorable matches just being silly. But I wasn't really drawing promo inspiration or anything from anyone at that time. I was more just trying to figure out what wasn't there and trying to figure out how to supply it.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, you know, saying earlier, you know, we spent a lot of time obviously wrestling in Ohio, but what made you decide to make the move to California?
Well, I wrestled in Ohio, and, you know, Indiana was where I was wrestling the most, but I lived in Ohio. But I was wrestling out there, like, you know, Michigan and Tennessee and North Carolina and all that stuff. But it felt like I wasn't really getting any traction. I felt like stagnant for a very long time. And I was starting to get a little bit of notoriety out there. But then I met a lady who actually lives in California, and we were flying back and forth to see each other. And then at some point it was like, hey, you want to move to Ohio or should I move to California? And that's an easy decision. The answer is California. If you have the option of Ohio or California. So that's why I moved out here, is actually to be with my now girlfriend. Hey baby, I'm talking about you. She's watching me talk about her. But yeah, and so then I was like, well, there's wrestling out there. I'll just figure out how to get booked. So I just started kind of showing up to shows. I showed up to one of the CWF Hollywood shows and just kind of met some people. And then they reached out to me, and and then I debuted on that one show that you were at. So it's good times. And then I'm at the next show, if you're going to be there too.
Nice. November
20th show.
Awesome. And then also, like you said, you like with California. Is there any differences from like the states you wrestled before to California, like the wrestling scene? Like, is there anything, or is it kind of like same?
It's hard for me to give it a super accurate answer to that, just because like everyone out here, they don't know me, you know. We're like, I know that the Midwest indie scene, I know all those guys, so I like know all the way things are. But out here, I'm kind of an outsider for the time being. It seems mostly the same. The Midwest is easier because there's just so much wrestling like close to each other. Like, it's so easy to just fill up a week with bookings. We're out here, it seems like there's slightly less wrestling, and that it's you have to drive farther, obviously, because all the destination areas are a little farther apart. Because California's a big ass state. Vegas is like 6 hours away from me. Where like in the Midwest, I could wrestle like 2 or 3 shows in one day in Indiana, like pretty easily. But yeah, it's mostly the same. Everyone's cool. Like I've liked every wrestler I've met here so far. Everyone seems pretty chill.
Mm-hmm. And also mentioning, you know, Championship in Hollywood, which Rich and I were at, and then I'll be honest, like we were there obviously supporting some of the wrestlers there, also supporting some of our past guests, Blake Troop, which you wrestled.
Hey, I did, yeah.
And honestly, like watching him wrestle, then when you came out and you came in with the spray bottle and you're doing your dance moves, and I'm like, oh my god, this guy's awesome. I like already became a fan already, you know. And then you also like you're making people hate you. You're a good heel. Like right away, I'm like, oh my god, this guy's awesome. Even though you did call me an idiot, but I did like it. I became a fan.
Now that I see you on here, I remember you at the show. I remember calling you an idiot, and you just smiled like it was like the nicest thing anyone ever said to you. Yeah. And it almost threw me off my game. Like I was like, man, he really liked that.
Yeah, I know, it was hilarious. Because you looked at me and it was kind of like you paused and you're just like, you looked at me, you're staring at me, well, you're an idiot, and then you just walked away, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
Oh man.
But it was great. But also, like, tell me your thoughts. Like, what were your thoughts on working with Blake Troop, but also wrestling Juicy Finau? Like, what were your thoughts on those matches?
It's funny because and just hanging out at a few shows, like I hung out at a GCW show and, you know, one of the CWF Hollywood shows, and I met Troop, and I was like, this guy's cool. This guy's like super chill. I kept seeing him at the shows, and I just thought he was a really nice guy. And then when I watched a CWF show, I remember thinking Juicy was really good, and so did my girlfriend. She thought he was really good too. So then I got there, and they told me that I was like, oh, tonight you're working Juicy and you're working Troop. I was like, hey, good. That's the guy that I like, and that's the guy that I've like talked to, and he's cool. So it was a nice introductory way to wrestle. It was like 2 guys that I knew I could work with well, just based on my limited interactions with them. But Juicy's super good. I didn't know much about him. I've only seen a little bit of his stuff, but I had a lot of fun playing that match with him. He's super good. He has a lot of charisma and stuff. It's so easy to work with someone like that. And then Troop is just crazy, man. That guy's a monster. Like, he's just, I don't know, he's so strong. He like shook my hand and like hurt my whole arm, and my arm bothered me for like 2 days after. I didn't want to tell him because I just felt like a pussy, but I was like backstage. I was just like rubbing my arm, like, God damn, like I have to wrestle that guy. He's going to kill me.
Oh yeah. I remember like first time I met him too, was at like at a jiu-jitsu tournament. And I shook his hand and I was like, oh my God, this guy's huge. I'm like, I'm glad I'm not facing that guy.
Yeah. What is he, like he's like 6'4". He's all jacked up. He looks like he only drinks pre-workout. Like he's just always amped up. He's crazy, man. Yeah, I love him, but he's crazy.
Oh yeah. And also talking about with Hollywood, you know, who else in that roster you would like to work with in the future? Is there any specific?
Dude, I would like to work with everyone on that roster. I'd really like to work with Jervis. That'd be a ton of fun. I feel like his super wholesome good guyness versus my super shitty bad guyness. I feel like we can do a lot of really cool stuff with that. I'd like to work with Manders. I'd like to have a mustache fight with Manders. Loser shaves his mustache. I don't know.
I like it.
I'd like it. Yeah, Chris Dickinson, I'd love to work with. He's super talented. They have so many talented dudes. It's literally like any of them. Like I would love to work any of their guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would love to see it. And maybe, who knows? I mean, you say you're being booked on November 20th. You know, maybe we can see those matches.
Who knows? They seem to like me, so maybe we'll get some good stuff.
Oh yeah, and also, you know, especially with California, is there any other companies in California you would like to wrestle?
Well, obviously, there's PWG is like the obvious one.
Yeah.
Raise the Bar Wrestling, I'm trying to get in at. That new LA Fights thing that is starting in the end of November. It's like the
LA Fights. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd really like to work for them. I'm probably going to crash their show November 28th and, you know, go. Here's my booking move. I'll let you in on a little insider secret here. When I'm not booked on a show, I'll just show up and then I'll just take my shirt off and I'll stand there and I'll wait for someone to talk to me. And they're like, hey, are you on the show tonight? And I'll be standing there flexing like, no, you want to book me? And I'm like, yeah, that's my move. It works better in the Midwest than it does out here, but I'm trying. I'm going to try anyway. But yeah, those are the places I'd like to get in on. I'm still trying to find more shows. Like I'm really bad at getting booked because I'm really bad at finding the promotions and like messaging them and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, promotions out there in California who are watching this, please book him. I mean, he's a great wrestler. Awesome guy. I mean,
I have abs. Just do it. I look good on the poster. Just do it.
Yeah. But also, like mentioning, you know, in the past, you said you worked with even guys like you had matches with Jay Christ, also Rich Swann and Alex Colon. What was also like working with those guys?
Dude, it was crazy working with those guys because at that time I was probably like less than a year in to 2 years in is when I was working with them the most. They're just so good. They're so much better than me. And they're like, you know, when someone's like so good at something, you can't even understand what makes them good. Like they would try to give me like these pieces of advice and I just like couldn't even fathom them. I would wrestle them and the match would be really good. And I know it has nothing to do with me, but I can't figure out what they're doing that's making me look so good. And now that I've been around for like 9 years, and I feel like sometimes I do good stuff with people, I'm like, oh, this is like what Jake Christ did with me. That's crazy. Only, you know, I'm not as good as Jake Christ. He's stupid good. But yeah, I just remember always being nervous working with those guys because it was just like, if you couldn't hang with them, it was just, I don't know. I one time I messed up a spot with Jake Christ, and for like months I just felt bad about it. I was just like, man, that was my big I was gonna have a good match. I fucked it up. It's like moping all the time about it. It was like, but yeah, it's just crazy. Like, it's really nice working with guys who are way better than you, but when you're that green, it's like, I felt like I couldn't really even learn from it. I wasn't smart enough to even retain any of it. If I worked with them now, that'd be great. But too late now. Now I'm in California. Here's a funny little Alex Cologne story, by the way. So Alex came out for GCW. He didn't know that I moved out here, so I showed up at GCW because I was invited to just hang out. And I walk in, and Alex sees me. He hasn't seen me in years, and I'm just walking in, and he's just like, "What the Brannigan? What the hell are you doing here?" I had to get him up to speed. He thought that I drove all the way to California just to hang out at this show, and he was perplexed. I could see the wheels turning in his head, him trying to figure out what the fuck I was doing out there.
Also, you mentioned earlier, I just want to go back, that you said that you did some training in Japan. How was that experience like? And how much of a difference a culture of wrestling over there and compared to the States?
It was actually very similar at that particular dojo, because it was the Wrestle One dojo, and they had an emphasis on American style wrestling. So they still did a lot of their hard hits, and they did all that stuff. And they took the training really seriously, because it was we'd work out in the morning. So it was every day was morning workout. I would go to the gym for a few hours after that. And then there was in-ring training in the evening, and then shows every now and then, a few times a week. But they took the training really seriously, but it wasn't this crazy hard hitting style you'd expect. They did a lot of emphasis on character work. I remember they were actually the most impressed they were with me was my character stuff. I showed them the purple nurple that I like to do. Yeah. They loved it. They all just started doing it. They're doing strong style, nipple grabbing, like fighting spirit, out of the nipple thing. It was so good. But yeah, they took the training really seriously. But I thought I fit in pretty well there, just because it was gimmick based.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a really good experience there. They got me thinking more of moves in terms of combinations and stuff. That was something that really stuck with me, was just stringing together offense versus just doing a move, having boom, 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 and building the moves up and sequences and stuff. So it was a good time.
When you were there, did you get the chance to wrestle there or do any matches?
No, I thought they were going to give me a tryout, but it never really worked out. But I just trained there for a few weeks. I think I was there for a month. But yeah, it was still nice. I wasn't expecting to really get anything at the time. I was taking a brief break from wrestling. I think I took almost 2 years off, because when I was telling you about how everything was just stagnant for me. So I took 2 years off, trying to think if I even wanted to do it anymore. And then that opportunity came up, and that's what kind of got me back into wrestling. Was like, oh shit, I can go train in Japan, and then I'll come back and I'll ride that momentum. And then as soon as I came back, pandemic, boom, everything shut down. And I was like, shit, my momentum.
And also, like you said, the pandemic happened, from having a little break in wrestling and coming back to, after the pandemic now with a crowd, how did that feel coming back, especially it's been a tough, couple of years now.
It felt good. To be honest, in the part of Ohio that I'm from, the wrestling shows draw so poorly that no crowd versus max capacity crowd is about the same. But then once things opened up more in places like New Wave Pro in Indiana and things like that started running, and we had a few hundred fans again, that was a lot of fun. And you kind of forget how much you need the fans there until they're gone. And it's well, this is stupid without fans.
But talking as of now, what are your goals as of now? What promotions you want to sign, or even countries would you like to travel? Is anything on that list? I
don't really know about promotions to sign with. I'm open to anything. I mean, I don't, except for WWE. I would never want to go there. I never wanted. It's always sounded horrible to me. But I would love to wrestle in Japan. I would love to wrestle in Mexico and England, Canada, really anywhere. Anywhere they have wrestling, I'll go. But Japan is probably the big one for me. Other goals, I don't know. I just want to have some good matches, so it doesn't feel like I wasted 9 years of my life being stupid. That's all I want is just a couple good matches, and then I'll fade away, or not. I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen?
And as of now, how much wrestling do you watch today? Like how much, like do you watch AEW, Diddy, or Impact? Is there anything you watch?
I've been trying to I just got into the habit of consistently watching AEW. I would always have to catch up on it because, I stopped watching WWE years ago. So it was hard for me to get back into the habit of watching like scheduled wrestling. I'm trying to be better about watching more indie stuff, like modern indie stuff. I watch a lot of old Ring of Honor matches on YouTube. I watch a lot of like Japanese wrestling still. I still watch like all Japan stuff. I'm just watching like the same stuff I've watched my whole life all the time. I think I'll watch Kobashi and Steve Williams again. And I watch it. It's good. It's still good.
It's great stuff. Great matches.
It is. Yeah. It ages so well. Like it's just great. But yeah. And then sometimes I'll throw on I got to throw on comedy matches. Like Kikutaro is like one of my comedy wrestling heroes. I would kill to wrestle Kikutaro. And Suzuki. Those are my two dream opponents. They're Kikutaro and Suzuki, two drastically different guys. But I would love to see just how they react to the weird stuff that I do. I think it'd be really fun.
No, I think so too. I agree. I think those would be entertaining matches.
For sure.
And also, if someone, let's say someone is watching, someone wants to be a professional wrestler, wants to be in the business, what advice could you give to someone that wants to step in?
My advice to anyone who wants to be a wrestler is to figure out, just figure out like who you are and like, just be genuine. There's a lot of like, not a lot, but there are some wrestlers who play these characters that I just don't buy. Like, I don't know. Some people want to look cool and some people want to look tough, but you really just need to like know who you really are and just figure out a way to apply that to some sort of character. Like I'm not a tough guy. That's why I have long girly hair and I shake my hips and I act like a weirdo because that's just who I am. If I try to act tough, no one would really believe it. So I just kind of believe in authenticity. Also, my advice would be to not do what everyone else is doing. Just like what I was saying earlier, just find things that are missing on the show and put it in there and you'll stand out. If everyone's doing the same thing, even if it's amazing, you're not going to stand out. There's a guy named Jock Sampson in the Midwest who's very good. He was working these AIW shows in Cleveland. And like these shows, years ago had like Ricochet, they had Johnny Gargano, Shima Zion, all these dudes doing this like crazy stuff. Then he would show up and do a hip toss and you'd get like this huge reaction just from doing a hip toss because he just knew what was missing from the show was just like showmanship and like crowd work and stuff. So I'm a big believer in just giving the crowd what they don't have. They'll always latch onto it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, man. That's such great advice. And again, thank you so much, Matt, for being on this podcast. I mean, it's been really awesome, entertaining.
No problem, man.
And again, ladies and gentlemen, please follow him. Please support him. Please go buy tickets, especially for November 20th for Tenders from Hollywood. He will be there. And like I said, Rich and I saw him, and he was the man of the hour. He was the show. So, definitely go see him. Is there anything where they can follow you? Anything you want plugged in? Bookings, social media?
Social media, Twitter, @Matt_Brannigan. Instagram, @CatBrannigan, cat with 2 T's. Let's see. Hey, I'm on OnlyFans. You can subscribe to me on OnlyFans, Matt_Brannigan again. And that's about it. Just follow me on stuff. I say funny stuff. I'm a funny guy.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much, Matt, for being on.
Thank you for having me, my guy. Thank you.
Awesome. And again, we'll put everything in the description down below. So again, please follow, support Matt. You're not gonna regret it. He is funny and he's also a very great wrestler. And he's gonna do big things. So definitely, please support him. And
thank you.
And that's gonna do it us for here at Championship Online Podcast. We'll see you guys next time.